Okay, welcome back. Last time we talked about solving equations. This time we're talking about solving inequalities. The cool thing about solving inequalities is it's exactly like solving equations, so we're not going to change what we're trying to do. The only thing that we're going to be looking out for is that if we multiply or divide on both sides by a negative, we need to flip the inequality. Alright, so we're just going to go about our business. We're just going to keep this thing in mind. That's the one big thing that we need to remember that's different from just solving equations. So first example, we have negative 10 is less than or equal to negative 6v plus 26. Like we did the last time, we're looking for anything that we can simplify. And in this case, there's nothing we can simplify. There's no like terms, there's no fractions, there's no distributive property. We can't combine anything, so we're just going to leave it as it is, and we're just going to jump straight into the solving part. Again, we're going in reverse order of operations, so we're working on the side with our v. We notice we have the plus 26, so we're going to undo, the 26 with the minus 26 both sides. Negative 10 minus 26 is negative 36. Is less than or equal to negative 6v. We're going to undo our negative 6v. It's a multiplication. We're going to undo it by division. Now, here's the thing, right? We just divided both sides by a negative, so that invokes our rule, right? Anytime we multiply or divide both sides by a negative, we're going to have to switch the inequality symbol. So let's clean this up. Negative 36 divided by negative 6 is positive 6. Is now greater than or equal to, right? Because we flipped the sign. And then negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1. So 6 is greater than or equal to v. Now we can still check like we did with our equations. Just we have to choose a number that, notice that v is less than, right? Because the mouth is eating 6. A number that's less than or equal to negative or positive 6. So like if we said 0, if we plug the 0 back in here to our original equation or our original inequality, we should see that the statement is true. All right, so we're still able to check. We're just going to check, we're going to choose a number that fits what the statement is asking on the bottom. So because 6 is greater than or equal to v, we choose a number that's less than or equal to 6, plug it in, and check if our answer is correct. Okay, for example 2. This time we're looking at a few different things going on. We need to do some simplifying in here. So for our simplification, one thing that jumps out to me is we have this distributive property on the right side. So let's go ahead and distribute. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15y. Be very careful when you have multiple negatives because it's easy to mess it up. And on the left side, we have the exact same thing. 7y minus 30, nothing changed. So now we're looking at these two variables, 7y and 15y. We remember that the rule of thumb when we're moving our variables to the same side is we take the smaller one. We don't have to, but it makes our job a little bit easier in the end. So we're going to move that 7y over by subtracting 7y on the left side. We're going to also make sure we do it on the right side. And now our inequality looks like negative 30 is greater than negative 6, and 15y minus 7y is positive 8y. We're going to do our solving from here. We're going to add our 6 to both sides of our inequality. Negative 30 plus 6 is negative 24. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. That's the whole reason we did that. And then we have our 8y drop down. Alright, so we're one step away. We're doing 8 times y. We undo the multiplication with the division. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Now remember, because we're dividing both sides by a positive, we don't have to flip this sign. Only if it's a negative. And only if we're multiplying or dividing both sides. Alright, so we're just doing negative 24 divided by 8. And we end up with negative 3. Okay, please remember you can pause the video, you can rewind the video, make sure you take your notes, make sure you write down any questions that you have that we can cover on during the next class. Let's move ahead to the last example. So I wanted to throw one in here where we have the fractions again. So just reviewing from last time, anytime we have fractions in there, for those of us who don't like fractions, and it's probably neater anyway for all of us to do this, is we're looking at all the denominators in our equation or an inequality in this situation, in this example. So we have 2, 2, and 6. So the least common denominator here would be 6. Now let's go ahead and multiply the whole thing by 6. So notice this has 4 different parts. We have the 2, we have the 9/2 x, we have the 7/2, and we have the negative 5/6 x. So everything that's separated by a subtraction or an addition or an equation sign or an inequality, those are different terms. So we're going to make sure that we multiply the 6 by each of those different parts. So 6 times 2 is 12. Remember, when we're multiplying our number outside by a fraction, we multiply numerator, divide denominator. So 6 times 9 is, oops, sorry, that's a minus. 6 times 9 is 54. Divided by 2 is 27. The x is still there, it's unchanged. Then we have this 6 times 7/2. 6 times 7 is 42. 42 divided by 2 is 21. And then the last term here, sorry, this part is like messy. Six times 5, 30. 30 divided by 6 is 5. Don't forget our x, it's still there. Now we're kind of back to like the last couple steps of the last problem. Right, so we have these variables on opposite sides. We're going to move the smaller one. Be careful, it looks like 27 is bigger, but it's actually negative 27. So we're going to add our 27x to both sides. Make sure it becomes 0. Right, negative 27x plus 27x is 0. That's the whole point of us adding our 27, so you can move that x to the right side. So here we have 12 is greater than or equal to 21. And then we have negative 5 plus 27x is going to be 22x. And we're left to solve. So we're going to subtract our 21s. 12 minus 21 is negative 9. And then we're going to undo our 22 times x by dividing 22. And we don't need to flip the inequality sign here, right? Because we are dividing both sides by a positive. So we're going to have, and we're leaving the fraction, negative 9/22 is greater than or equal to x. All right, so just more practice with the algebra stuff. Just remember, when doing inequalities and we're solving it, make sure anytime we multiply or divide by a negative both sides of the inequality, that we flip our inequality symbol. So it's pretty much exactly like solving. And again, if you want to check, just choose a number. In this case, x is going to be less than negative 9/22. Make it easy on yourself. Find a number that's easy to multiply. So like -1 would be satisfactory. Plug it back into the original equation or inequality and see if it's true. If it's true, you did it correctly. All right. So make sure you take your notes down. Make sure you write any questions that you have for us to go over during next class. Good job. I'll see you next time.